And joining us today on the show, great to welcome a singer who really has had a great career, both in nightclubs and stage and television and radio and recordings. And we're going to talk to her about her latest CD, which is kind of a special one, I'm sure, to her. She recorded it with her son. It's called Something to Remember, and she recorded it with her son, Bill Charlap. And we're real happy to bring on the show today Sandy Stewart. And Sandy, good to talk to you. How are you today?
I'm very well, Doug. And you?
I'm doing great. I've had a chance to listen through. We've been playing it on the air since we got it about a month ago, and we're having a lot of fun listening to it. I know our audience down here is as well, so congratulations on the CD.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. This is actually our second one that Bill and I have done as a duo, mom and son team, and we also do a cabaret show together. Actually, we're booked here in Palm Beach, where I live, at the Colony Hotel in the Rose Room. Easter week, we'll be doing our cabaret show there for the whole week, for 8 years, we did the Algonquin, the Oak Room in the Algonquin, and it's just so incredible to work with him because it's like working with a full orchestra, Doug. I mean, it's a pretty miraculous job that he does. I think he knows me pretty well, and I've known him since he was born, so we kind of know where we're going to go musically.
Well, I think it's kind of unusual. I don't remember any other combinations of a mother-son ever recording in jazz before. I can't think of any off the top of my head, so it's kind of unique, isn't it?
I can't either. I mean, a lot of people will ask me, do you know anyone else that has worked with their son or daughter? And I remember Roberta Sherwood. Remember her?
Oh, sure. I know the name, yeah.
From many years ago, from the 50s. She worked with her son, but her son, I think, was a bass player in her little group that she did. But that's about the only one that I know that actually works with their son as an accompanist. And it's just a joy. One of the great joys of my life is working with Bill. And I'm glad you like the record. That's great.
Great standards that you put on this one, and I guess in one sense it's a challenge to pick what songs you want to do. There's so many great ones. You picked some great ones on this CD. How did you go about it? You and your son kind of sit down and say, "I want to do this," or how did you do it?
Well, ever since I realized that music was going to be his life's work. I said, the one thing you have to do, honey, is learn all the lyrics to every song you play, because it'll take you emotionally where you have to go with the music. And he said, Mom, that's one of the best lessons I've ever had, because not too many jazz musicians know all the lyrics,
right. Very
few. And that it brings another dimension to the performance, I think, anyway. So it's easy to pick songs because there's so many, like you say, great songs from the American Songbook that it's just easy. You can almost open up a Rogers book and to any page, here, pick a card, any card, and it's always going to be a great song, or Porter, or Julie Stein, Irving Berlin, all of the great writers, Gershwin, of course, and we do them all. We do a little of each. I did one CD years ago with Dick Hyman, who is a distant cousin on the Charlap side.
Is that right?
Of all Jerome Kern songs, and that was a fun thing to do. But that was, oh my goodness, close to 25 years ago that we did that one.
Wow, yeah, Dick's a good friend of us here. He lives down in Venice, not too far away, so we have him on.
That's right.
Occasionally.
That's right.
So,
well, he's on the other side of the state.
Right, down by us. Yeah. Oh, great! I didn't know that you were related, but that's interesting. I'll have to ask him, tell him about that next time I talk to him. That I talk to you. Okay, great.
He's a cousin. He's a cousin of a third. What did Julia, Dick's wife, said to me? We are third cousins. Once removed, or whatever it is.
Well, you're related musically anyway.
Yes, oh, definitely. Definitely.
Well, he's still going strong. I think he's in his late 80s now. He's still doing gigs around town. So God bless him.
He's absolutely amazing. Bill and I went to a concert in New York right before I came back to Florida in November, and you close your eyes and it sounds like he did when he was in his 20s.
Yeah.
He's absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I'll definitely let him know when I talk to him. He's doing the Jazz Festival here in March, so we'll have him on to talk about it. But I'll pass your regards on to him.
You definitely should, definitely. In fact, Saturday, this coming Saturday, I'm going to meet Bill and my daughter-in-law, Rini Rosnes, who is another incredibly talented jazz pianist in her own right. And Bill and Rini do things together. They recorded a beautiful album called Double Portrait for Blue Note a couple of years ago, and it's just an incredible piano duo album. So our family is kind of indoctrinated musically, and we love each other, and Reedy and I cook together, and we just have a great time. We have a good time.
Well, it's got to be, it's rewarding, anytime you have a child that does well in any industry, but your son, of course, Bill, one of the great jazz piano players of all time. I mean, that's a great thing to be proud of right there.
Well, I'm very, very proud of him. Very, to say the least, I am. And I have other children, too, that I'm very proud of.
Oh, sure.
My daughter, Catherine Charlap, is a doctor of psychology and has a private practice. And Tom Charlap is a very, very talented bass player. And Anne Charlap, the oldest Charlap child, is a petroleum engineer. So we have a mixed bag here of very talented, wonderful kids.
You got it all covered.
Yep, got it all covered. That's right. That's right.
I want to talk a little bit about, I was going on YouTube, and I like to go on there and watch some of the old great variety shows, and saw a couple of things that you did. There's one on there with you on the Ed Sullivan Show. My uncle had to be on that a few times. He was a singer in New York. Right. And what was that like? I've always liked to ask people what that experience was like, because everybody has a great Ed Sullivan story.
Well, I had been working at the International Club as a warm-up act. In those days, a singer was hired to warm up for the comic, who was usually the headliner, unless you were Peggy Lee or Ella or, one of the famous singers. So I became the warm-up act for all the comics. I worked with Bob Newhart, Buddy Hackett, Joey Lewis, Jerry Lewis, all of them. And I was doing a gig at the International, I guess it was 1960, 59, 60, with the Ritz Brothers. And Ed Sullivan was in the audience with his son-in-law and his wife, and Ed's wife, and as well. And he came backstage after I sang, and he said, my wife Sylvia and I have a bet going. And I said, well, what is that, Mr. Sullivan? And he said, I said that you come from a huge show business background family, just watching you perform. And she said, no, she's the only one. She's the only one. And I said, Sylvia won the bet. There is no one in my family that's in show business. One of my mother's sisters aspired to be in show business, and she could have done very well, but she was too busy having 4 sons and raising them, so she lived vicariously through my career.
Right.
And he hired me on the spot to do 6 performances on the Sullivan Show, which, of course, did a tremendous thing for my career at the time, even though I was in my very young 20s. Benny Goodman hired me, and then Como hired me as a regular with Kay Ballard and Paul Lynde and Don Adams as his little ensemble there that we did for 2 years, which was the most fun 2 years. To get paid for laughing is a terrific thing, because that's all we ever did was laugh. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful thing. And to find these memories on YouTube is quite an experience for me, because sometimes you forget. It's been 50 years or something, and you look at these things and you say, who is that person, and did I really do that?
What is In a way, it's kind of sad when you think about it. I mean, I grew up kind of toward the tail end of the variety show era, and I enjoyed like Carol Burnett and Dean Martin, those kind of shows.
Oh,
A little bit of Ed Sullivan at the end, but unfortunately, those shows aren't around anymore. It gives people like you had a chance to kind of get your career started then and get that great exposure. They're just not around anymore.
Oh, I was very lucky. That was yesterday. That was the Au Courant. Vaudeville,
sure.
To do the live music shows, to do the Como show, to do Ed Sullivan, to do Lawrence Welk, and all these live musical shows that were on a weekly basis. It was fantastic, really fantastic.
And Sullivan was predominantly live. I mean, I know they recorded occasionally, but that was pretty much live as you saw it, right?
Oh,
not
no,
recorded.
it was all live.
Yeah.
It was all live. What you saw is what you got, and we had some mishaps on occasion, but as professionals, you kind of go over it and laugh it off, and Kay and I talk about, we're still very friendly, and Kay is in her late 80s and still working, still doing a show here and there. So, it keeps you young, Doug.
Oh, yeah.
It really keeps you young.
I remember Kay, of course, people remember her from the Mothers-in-Law show, but really a great musical comedy performer outside of that. I mean, she's very talented lady. Yeah.
She did Carnival, and she's actually introduced Lazy Afternoon from the Golden Apple. That's the first time I ever saw Kay perform, and that performance put her on the cover of Life magazine.
Wow.
So that was in the 50s. Yep. Yeah. So that was quite something.
Great era of television. Sadly, I mean, in a good way, we can see some of it on YouTube, but maybe it'll come back sometime. Who knows? But
I don't. Well, actually, Moose Charlotte, my late husband and Bill's dad, wrote the score, most of the score for Peter Pan. He wrote I Got a Crow, and I'm Flying, and I Won't Grow Up. And
all right.
Those wonderful songs with Carolyn Lee when he was in his early 20s. And unfortunately, Moose did not live a long life. He was a victim of juvenile diabetes, and he died when he was 45 years old. And Bill was only 7 at the time. And but we knew that he was definitely going to. He never attacked the piano like a child would just to get sound out of it. He actually went over his nose high at the keyboard, and his fingers would just automatically go one at a time on the keys. So we kind of knew he was headed in that direction. And anyway, we just found out yesterday that they will be doing a live performance of Peter Pan in December of this year. NBC is setting up a contract with the heirs to the writers of Peter Pan.
Oh, I did see that, like that it was Sound of Music, so that is a great.
And NBC is going to be doing a live production of Peter Pan, so we're very, very excited about that.
Yeah, Mary Martin, of course, did I think the original television production, right? In addition to
Mary
Broadway.
Martin did the original one, right, in 1953.
Which got unbelievable ratings from what I've read. Like 50, 60 million people watched that. I mean, that was like a perennial.
That was unbelievable at that time. And, of course, she was a giant Broadway star, and she also did the original Sound of Music.
Right.
Mary was Maria. The original Maria.
People tend to think it's Julie Andrews only, but she did it on the stage. So
Mary did it in the theater. Right, I saw it the second night that it opened.
Oh, did you?
And it was just beautiful, beautiful. And that's another annuity for the Richard Rodgers estate.
Oh, sure.
Absolutely.
Write a hit song and you got money for life. It's a simple thing. Just write a hit song, right?
That's right. Yeah, just write a hit song. Sure, just try it.
Well, Sandy,
today it seems easier because I don't understand what they're saying and half the time, and it seems to be. I mean, there's a lot of very talented singers out there, and but instead of being subtle, it becomes like a contest of who loud is not necessarily good,
right?
And and even though you can hit the notes, doing it on a constant basis, there's no color involved. There's no different shades of green. There's no different shades of red. That's how I look at a song. Has different colors, different shades of colors. When you sing a lyric, it's a story that you're telling, and I don't understand what stories they're telling. A lot of redundancy going on.
I don't think Miley Cyrus is going to be putting out an album of standards anytime soon.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so, no.
Well, that's the great thing about what you do on this CD and your career and what we like to play here at WTMY. It's songs that not only people remember, but everybody can have their own interpretation of it, and you're one of the great interpreters of the American popular standards. So this kind of music will live forever. That's the great thing about it.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you. I love doing these songs. They're timeless and they're beautiful, and they tell the story, and that's what Bill and I like to do. Tell the story.
Something to Remember is the name of the CD.
And hopefully we have some younger people that will listen to these stories, and that's what I'm afraid may disappear, and that would be tragic, because these are classic songs, and we need these young performers with these beautiful voices to do these songs.
Yeah.
And I think people will listen. If the young ones will do them, they will listen. They definitely will.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a pleasure to talk to you, and I wish you so much luck with your new show. And thank you for playing our music.
Well, it's our pleasure to not only to talk to you, but to get these songs, like you said, on the air, so people that haven't heard them before can hear them. And I know, Sandy, you're going to be doing the shows over on the other side of the state. Love to have you back on maybe right before that. Plug it a little bit. Some people will make the drive over, and talk about those gigs over at the Colony.
Yeah, we'll be at the Colony from April 15th through the 19th. Of this year, of course, and if you're in the New York area in July, Bill does his annual Jazz in July jazz series, and I'll be singing the songs of Hoagy Carmichael in one of the shows there.
Great.
So that'll be a fun thing to do as well. This is his 10th year as the director. He took over for Dick Hyman when Dick retired from that particular job, and the series is always wonderful. He has the best jazz musicians in the world that do these things, and it's a great event, great summer event that he does.
Is that at 92nd Street Y? Is that series?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
That's at 92nd in Lexington in New York City, from mid-July to the end of July. There's 6 different jazz venues that he does every year. Featuring famous jazz artists and writers, of course. Yeah. So it's a great thing. It really is. It keeps the music alive. That's our thing. Keep it alive.
Sandy Stewart, great to talk to you. Thank you for taking some time today. And I know our audience down here will enjoy not only hearing the stories, but the songs as well with your son, Bill Charlap. Something to Remember, the name of the CD. And Sandy, we'll talk to you again. Thanks for joining us.